Guys, my name is John Gardner and I'm from British Columbia, Canada. This video is long overdue, but this is going to be my review of my first Quantum Vetox Cleanse by vPhase. So I've been following vPhase for well over a year at seeing this cleanse. It really interests me, the whole idea with muqoid plaque, everything that's inside the body, and I've just been following it. And then last spring decided to pull the trigger and be like, okay, let's do it. Let's just get her done. I know it can be intimidating, especially for the 4-week one like I'm doing. That can be intimidating and all this kind of stuff, but I was like, hey, let's get it in my head, let's do it. So I got it in April, and I started it. I went from, I think, second week of April all the way until kind of the end of May. So this is going to be kind of my review for it. How I started this, I made sure I printed off this out of the group page. Obviously, my first package came with everything that is here. So we have the V-Flex, the vGang, the V-Greens, shaker, all that kind of stuff. I printed this out from the group page in the Facebook group. It gave me everything that you needed, so it talked about all the extra stuff that you can kind of get. So one of the things I got was the cayenne pepper, helping for digestion, some probiotics, some prebiotics. It stated which ones to get, so I thought that was extremely helpful. And then it lists out like, hey, here's roughly the times you should be taking your first shake, then how much time you should have between from taking the supplements, and then your meals, what different meal ideas. So they gave kind of a full breakdown of all the different meal ideas, different smoothies, different salads, some green juice recipes. For myself personally, can be a pretty bland person, so I love that they give the options for people in here who need different food each day. I kind of rock with the same stuff. Like I would have a couple variations of my smoothie and I would just go with that. Same with my salad. I would just throw a bunch. I'd either use romaine lettuce, coleslaw, or a bunch of that kind of stuff, and just throw a ton of veggies in there. But there was a ton. There was Mexican salads. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff, like cheesecake smoothies. So for those people that do need variety and diversity to keep them going and need those ideas and recipes, everything was in here. So that was super cool and super helpful. And like I said, I just made a couple of them that kind of fit for me, and I'd make my slight modifications. But for my personality, I could just kind of eat the similar thing each day. And each week I would start with the 3 meals and 2 shakes, and then cut back dinner on week 2, add a shake, cut back lunch on week 3, add a shake. Week 4 it was basically just the shakes all day. One of the things I thought that was one of kind of my worries was, hey, you're gonna have the energy, or you're gonna have all this as you're cutting back food. And for some people doing this cleanse, you're consuming a lot less food than maybe had before, especially in the later weeks. And if people at work, if nobody actually knew I was doing a cleanse, they wouldn't have actually known, because I didn't have any decrease in energy. It was more the mental hunger. I'm a night snacker, so sometimes just snacking at night and all that kind of stuff was stuff that kind of got to me. But it was just more up here. I wasn't actually hungry. It was just more my mental habits. So that's kind of how I went with that. Over my cleanse, I followed it about 98%. Like everything they tell you exactly how to do in here, I was probably like 98% bang on. There was 1 or 2 things, little kind of supplements that I didn't kind of take. Like I said, added in the cayenne pepper for digestion, probiotic, prebiotic. Did the enemas, did all that kind of stuff. My little cheats came, on cheat day was like Saturday, so they could be steamed vegetables, air pop popcorn, and since me being kind of the crunchy junkie that I am, my cheat was that sometimes twice a week, or even 1 week 3 times, I would have the air pop popcorn. Like I said, there wouldn't be any of the buttery one, it'd just be kind of the air popped one. So that's why I can say that, it was a little bit of cheating and stuff, but I was pretty much bang on to exactly how they wanted you to do. The results that came from that is I lost 30 pounds over 6 weeks. So I did a full 2-week prep, and I know on the 2-week prep they talk about working your way back to get rid of the dairy, the meat, any of that other stuff. When I started my 2-week prep, I just started basically raw vegan for those 2 weeks. I think I had like 1 cheat meal. So I started raw vegan, basically lost 10 pounds that week, started doing my shakes and adding all that stuff in for the first official week, and then lost another 10 pounds the next 2 weeks, and then the final 2 weeks I lost another 10 pounds, so dropped about 30 pounds. I lost about, kind of 4 inches off the belly area, 2 or 3 inches off the waist, 2 or 3 inches off the hips, thighs, so lost a bunch of inches. Felt great. I mean, it felt my digestion, because full transparency and stuff, when I finished my cleanse back over summer, been a crazy kind of year, out camping, had weddings, so obviously some of the some of the habits kind of reverted back a little bit. You know, had some not so good food, and I knew I felt good at the time, but it was even when I started eating going back to some of that bad stuff, and not a ton of bad stuff, but just not obviously raw vegan, that I could feel the difference in my digestion, how clean I felt, how light I felt inside. And so having been about 5-6 months since I've done that cleanse, I'm excited to get that feeling of just being cleaned out again. So my biggest focus for this cleanse, the weight loss was awesome, but seeing the pictures of the muqoid plaque, and I will post this in the comment section of this video, and I have posted in the group back in kind of the May area, that was one of the big things that sold me, so that's the one thing I want to kind of share. But the big thing for me wasn't so much the weight loss, it was getting that muqoid plaque out of there. Watching a bunch of the videos that Alaska and Charlie, they post up there with the doctors and talking about that is, how if I want to fix the outside, we got to work from the inside. And if that stuff's inside of us, it's preventing us from absorbing, it's causing a bunch of different issues, inflammation and all that. So I wanted to get that out. If I lost 5 pounds, if I lost 50 pounds, was all a bonus, but my goal was to get as much of that muqoid plaque out of me as I could. And they'd said that, I think Alaska posted that, she lost like 30 pounds, and some people can lose up to 30 feet of muqoid plaque. And if I had to do a pretty safe estimate, I'd say I was between 25 to 35 feet of muqoid plaque, which you start stretching that out, that seems pretty crazy. And one of the things that really baffled me is, we've all had it where, tummy's upset and you kind of clean the system out, and never once has any of this ever came out, right? So this stuff, even when my system was cleaned out, as we've all had experiences with, this was never coming out of here. So this is definitely, hardened and stuck in there. And when it came out, it was something like I'd never seen before, never seen before coming out of me. We all know what our stuff looks like. So that was really, really interesting, seeing kind of the different types. Like, this can sometimes be too much information for people, but we're all open in this group. So, I would take it like when I would do kind of pictures, like, touching it with chopsticks and stuff like this, feeling like the rubbery mucus, and some of the ones are extremely hard, seeing it how it shapes through the intestine, like that was crazy for me. And so that was one of the things, just knowing that was inside of me, knowing the issues and the health stuff that can cause, and being able to get that much out of me. I know they've talked about how, for the average person, you're gonna need like 10 of these cleanses to really get all that out of you. So just knowing how much that was in me, I'm excited to see when I'm doing my second cleanse now, how much more comes out this second time. But that was my big focus. Losing 30 pounds was awesome. I kept off 20 of it. Like I said, these last couple months, weddings and some stuff, I kind of went a little off the wagon a little bit, but we're over winter. I'm excited to do this cleanse again, and then keep a lot more strict once I kind of go back off. So yeah, I kept, like I said, 30 pounds, about 25 plus feet of the muqoid plaque, which was unbelievable. I started losing that for people's expectations. Like, it was around, I think, day 10 or 11, which is kind of what they told me in the book. So I started kind of seeing that around that time. But yeah, everything they had here was awesome. Told me everything I needed to do. Couple of things for recommendations for people, and for things that I'm going to personally change up going this time. Towards the end of the process, I bought a juicer. So I went and did a bunch of research, because I'd seen people talking about like juicing to help out as well, and you can drinking through that, and just the benefits of juicing as opposed to like eating the fruit itself and all this kind of stuff. So I went and bought a juicer. For anybody who wants to look at one, I got a more expensive one. I got the lonnnnng juicer. It was the one I did a ton of research on. The type and way that it juices, I really liked. Like I said, it was a touch more expensive, especially up in Canada, but it was one. So if people are looking for one, that could be one. I don't make any affiliate money or anything like this, but I found a lady, her name's Christina, on Fully Raw. So she had like a little code in her YouTube things, showed me how it worked, and I really liked that. And when I learned the differences about different types of juicers, keeping nutrients and all that, I've had it, I've used it continually over the summer. I really like it. So adding those juices is something I'd really like. I've been continuing to do, like, especially green juices. So I throw like spinach, kale, Swiss chard, kale, celery, cucumber, lemon, lime, ginger. So throwing a bunch of that kind of stuff in. I'm really excited to see how putting that into the cleanse as well, how that kind of maybe supercharges the system, seeing the difference that it would play. So I'm excited to do that. One of the other tips I'm going to do this time is a big thing is the enemas. This is one when I've talked to people that I tell them the enemas are so crucial. You know, people get intimidated by that. I kind of put it off for like honestly the first couple weeks, and just because, you know, it is what it is. But that's one of the things that I got excited to do, just because when I got to about day 10 or 11, I kind of passed muqoid plaque just naturally going to the bathroom, and it was a little bit. And then I got an enema bulb, and I only used water. So one of the things I'm going to incorporate this time is there's some different ones, some coffee, some garlic enemas, and a bunch of those different ones that supposedly have a bunch of different benefits. So I'm going to really try and experiment with those this time. But the first time, all I did was just straight water. So I just used kind of like room temperature water. I had like one of the little bulbs with the extender, went and did it. But the first time I did an enema, there was like a ton of muqoid plaque that came out. And then every time I did one, they recommended twice a day, but my work schedule only worked kind of to work out once. But every time I did an enema after that, muqoid plaque came out. So that is one of the things I can tell people. You know, I'm going to make sure I start in the very beginning of it, even though I know it takes some days to loosen stuff up when you start consuming these. But doing the enemas, if it's a hiccup or mental thing for you, get over it. Because the goal here is to get as much muqoid plaque out, and for me that was my goal, and so if that was the thing that was going to help me get that out, I was willing to do it. Once you got used to them, putting more liquid in, holding it in there longer and stuff like this, go in the bathroom, turn on a TV show on my phone, and we'll just go kind of get her done. But the result and the stuff that came out of that was absolutely huge. So that is one of the things I can recommend, and another one of those things I'm going to change and kind of tweak this time. So that's basically my review. Like I said, I'm interested to see what comes out. Again, I just want to get as much muqoid plaque out this second time as I can, so whatever the weight loss comes with and happens is awesome. But if anybody has any questions, please, you know, throw some stuff in the comments. I'll post a couple, like, you know, before and after pictures. I'll post some pictures of the muqoid plaque that kind of came out of me, because I know that's the stuff that me seeing that was what caused me to go get the cleanse kit, seeing them talk about that. So, you know, in this group, pretty open. So I'm going to check that out. And I just thank vPhase for coming out with this cleanse and educating me, because up until this point, I'd never heard of anything about this stuff. And it's funny because, you know, having gone through it and seeing my own experiences, you go Google muqoid plaque and they say, oh, it's fake science and it's all this kind of stuff. But seeing that stuff come out of me and knowing that I've never had that come out, even when I've, you know, cleaned out the system before, I've never had that come out, and seeing like what that was, the mucus and all that stuff, and from the education that vPhase has provided, knowing what that's doing in my body and knowing that I've got that released and on a better path now, that's super important. So thank you to those guys, and if anybody's any questions, let me know, and let's get cleansing, guys.